You ever feel like you're just running on a treadmill, working harder and harder, but you just can't seem to get ahead financially? Well, according to the financial historian we're looking at today, that's not an accident. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. So let's dive right in. We're about to pull back the curtain on the hidden financial tricks governments have been using for centuries to, well, keep people just like us broke.
Now, that's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? But it really sets the stage for what we're about to explore. The whole idea here is that the money troubles a lot of us face today, they aren't new. Nope, they're just the latest, most sophisticated version of a very, very old game. A game that's been played by empires, by kings, and now by modern governments. So, let's go all the way back to the beginning. And our first stop is ancient Rome. This is where we find what might be the oldest and maybe the sneakiest trick in the book. It's a word we hear all the time now, but its use as a tool of the state goes back thousands of years. Inflation. So, this brings us to the first trick. It's called currency debasement. Just imagine you're a government, right? And you want to spend way more money than you're bringing in with taxes. You could raise taxes, but nobody likes that. It's messy, it's unpopular, it's risky. So instead of taking your money directly, you go a stealthier route. You just make the money you already have worth less. And you can literally see the trick right here on this slide. It's fascinating. On the left, that's a Roman denarius from the early 3rd century. It's almost 100% pure silver, a solid coin. Now look at the one on the right, from just a few decades later. Roman emperors, desperate to pay their armies and fund their projects, just started melting the silver down and mixing in cheaper junk metals like copper. They could mint way more coins, sure, but each one was a shadow of its former self.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road for regular people. This wasn't just some abstract economic policy. For the average Roman citizen, the results were just devastating. Prices for bread, for everything, went through the roof. If you had saved your life's earnings in those silver coins, poof, it just vanished. Your wages couldn't possibly keep up. It was, for all intents and purposes, a silent tax that hit the savers and the workers the hardest. And that playbook, it definitely didn't end with the fall of Rome. Oh no. Let's jump forward in time to the Middle Ages. Here, the methods got a little more direct, a little less subtle, but they serve the exact same purpose: funding the state on the backs of its citizens. The next trick up their sleeve was something called the forced loan. This was just straight-up coercion, but they dressed it up as patriotism. The king needs money for a war, so he'd go to the wealthy merchants and guilds and say, "You're going to lend me some money." And say no? Not really an option. That could mean massive fines or even having your property taken away. And as for getting paid back, well, let's just say you shouldn't hold your breath. Okay, so by the 17th century, the game gets a whole lot more sophisticated. Instead of just melting down coins or shaking down merchants, the system itself was engineered to transfer wealth. This is where modern finance as we know it really begins.
Let's just walk through this model, which kicked off at the Bank of England. Step 1. The government always needs money, usually for wars. Step 2. Wealthy investors lend the government that money by buying bonds. Step 3. The government promises to pay them back with interest. A nice, safe investment. But here's the kicker, step 4. Where does the money for those interest payments come from? It comes from taxes. Taxes on everyday things like salt, beer, cloth, things that ordinary people had to buy. You see what's happening here, right? A system was created that formally used the taxes paid by the many to guarantee the investments of the wealthy few. That Bank of England model, well, it basically went viral. It became the blueprint for financial systems all over the world. And according to our source, that blueprint is not only alive and well today, it's been upgraded. The tricks are more advanced, more complex, and more hidden than ever before. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do these tricks that are literally centuries old show up in our world of online banking and global markets? Well, the tools have changed for sure, but the goal, that has stayed exactly the same. So meet the modern high-tech version of debasing the currency, quantitative easing, or just QE. After the 2008 financial crisis, you heard this term everywhere. Central banks basically created trillions of dollars out of thin air to buy up financial assets. Now, the official story was that this was to save the economy from a total collapse. But let's take a closer look at who really benefited from all that new money. And this chart, wow, it tells the story pretty clearly. All that new QE money flooding into the financial system sent the value of assets, we're talking stocks, real estate, skyrocketing. Now, if you're someone who already owns a lot of those assets, that's fantastic news for you.
But for the average family, the direct benefit was almost zero. And the long-term cost? Growing inequality and the constant threat of that new money causing inflation down the line. And QE is just one tool in the modern toolbox. I mean, think about it. We have bailouts, where taxpayer money is used to save massive corporations, privatizing all the profits while socializing all the losses. We have pension promises, where contributions are spent today, leaving a giant IOU for your kids and grandkids to figure out. And the whole system is wrapped in what the source calls weaponized complexity. They make the tax code and the national budget so insanely complicated on purpose so that no normal person could ever hope to figure out where their money is actually going. It's the perfect way to hide the game in plain sight. So this can all feel pretty overwhelming, right? Almost hopeless. But the source argues that your single best defense against all of this is understanding it. History isn't just about what happened back then, it's a roadmap for understanding what is happening right now. And I think this quote just nails it. It really gets to the heart of the matter. Understanding this historical playbook isn't just some boring academic exercise. It's a real practical tool for protecting yourself and your family. Because when you know the tricks, you'll become a whole lot harder to fool. So, what can you actually do? The source boils it down to 3 key things. First, become a critical thinker. When you see a headline about some new government stimulus plan or regulation, ask the most important question there is. Who benefits? Follow the money. Second, focus on building real wealth and things that hold their value, even when currencies don't. And third, and this is a big one, just maintain a healthy dose of skepticism. Remember, these big systems are designed to protect themselves first, and that goal doesn't always line up with your best interests. At the end of the day, the lesson from ancient Rome to right now is just remarkably consistent. The language changes, sure. It goes from currency debasement to quantitative easing. But the fundamental trick of manipulating money to transfer wealth from one group to another, that persists. The real question is, now that you can see the game being played, how are you going to choose to play?